So let's move into this territory of the big stories of the day, particularly the one-in, one-out migrant deal. Ryan Sabey is with us, Deputy Political Editor over there at The Sun. Morning to you, Ryan.
Happy New Year to you, Ian.
Happy New Year. Nice to have you with us. I mean, this one-in, one-out deal, I mean, a terribly named initiative in the first place, because it was open. How this stuff bypasses the SPAD checkers number 10, I've got no idea. But one in, one out. It was always it always sounded a bit weird. And there's a good reason, because it turned out to be not just a bit odd, but not really worth the paper it's written on.
Yeah, I think at the moment it's seen that it's down as a pilot scheme. So it'll be interesting to see how ministers actually take this on. But we've seen the situation, the figures from pretty much late in the year to the end of the year. 195 have come to this country, but 193 have gone back. I mean, we're talking just a few numbers in it, but it's not what it says on the tin, one in, one out. So, yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting to see the next time Keir Starmer and the French leader Emmanuel Macron sit down and actually talk about this, how they move this on. You know, is it ramped up? Do we spend even more money on this? I think Keir Starmer sees this as just one part of trying to build a deterrent of sorts, because look, they had the government, the previous Conservative government, had that big Rwanda plan. One of the first things that Labour did when they came in was actually get rid of the one deterrent that could possibly make a really, really big difference. So what they're trying to do is trying to build this armory of ideas, policies to try and actually stop people coming over illegally. But at the moment, it doesn't really seem to be working.
Yeah, and for a number of reasons, of course. It made it sound, to start with, the one in, one out, that, you know, every time a migrant came in, they'd go out again. Well, it's definitely not that. But the problem is still confusing, because it's not one in, one out anyway. So they select out. You could have 2,000 people come in and only one is selected to go out. But of course, when that person goes out, another person apparently legitimately comes in from France. But then the person that's gone out can walk around the block and come back again, because we've seen that happen as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. People are chancing their arm by coming over across the channel again. But I think if you're a channel migrant who's paid, you know, several £1,000s, you know, to come over, is looking to come over, I think you're gonna take your chances, because if you know there's a very, very slim chance of actually being sent back to France, why not try and come over here? The figures that we saw out yesterday for the whole of last year, the 41,000 people crossed the channel in small boats. And I mean, it's only in a few months, but we've only sent 193 back to France. There are some other schemes that where people have gone back, but in the grand scheme of things, real minimal numbers of people who've been sent back or being sent back to their home country. So if you're in that situation, you know, you want to come here and you're willing to spend the money and pay these smuggling gangs, you're going to try. And yeah. Keir Starmer's big idea before he came to power of smashing the gangs, it just shows you how difficult that is. I think it's approaching 60,000 people have come here since Labour came to power on small boats, and it's not as simple as getting into power, being a Labour government, waving a magic wand and thinking it will be all right, because it's simply not the case.
Yeah, it's disaster written all over it, and the smash the gang things, that seems to have been quietly dropped as well, because that wasn't really doing very much. I mean, it just reminds me of Rishi Sunak just continuing with the stop the boats thing. You remember every one of those press conferences, you attended most of them as well, Ryan, where that was written on the front of the lectern, wasn't it? Stop the boats. And everyone's thinking, but the boats aren't stopping. In fact, they're increasing. And Starmer decided, obviously, we can't have stop the boats, so we'll have smash the gangs, which meant even less than the stop the boats thing. But so that's gone by the wayside. Is this going to be the year they're going to have to try and get to grips with it, of course? Because we've been reminding everybody this morning, Ryan, that local elections, they're not just any old local elections. These are pretty seismic because of Wales and Scotland and the mayoralties. Local elections are actually 17 weeks away.
Yeah, it's not long. And I think this is going to be a massive moment, not only for Keir Starmer, it's going to be a massive moment for Kemi Badenoch, and also Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage did an interview in the Times that was published yesterday. And he's actually, even though Nigel Farage is out in front in the opinion polls, he looks in a pretty strong position. He said that this is going to be a big moment for him. It's a moment where he has actually got to deliver, or actually show that the reform are on track to trying to get into Downing Street at the next election. Also going to be a massive moment for Keir Starmer, as it looks like Labour will suffer heavy losses across England, Wales, and Scotland. Will anyone have enough, really feel like they can make a challenge against Keir Starmer, or is he just going to cling on because there's going to be no one there who can really sort of muster the support? There isn't enough people in cabinet who've got the will more than anything to actually tell Keir Starmer that he should go. The strongest person who seems like they may see through the next few months is Kemi Badenoch. She seems to have a good few months, and I think all that muttering around her position does seem to have gone away. But for Nigel Farage, I think it's for him time to deliver, and for Keir Starmer, how does he hold on? Does he just muddle his way through this year?
Well, I think, to be honest, Ryan, I think you're being rather cynical, because you obviously didn't catch the New Year's message from Mr. Starmer. I know you did, by the way, because he's promised it's all going to be all right. Actually, we're going to be better off, money in your pockets and all the rest of it. Let's have a listen to what the Prime Minister said.
Things have been tough in Britain for a while. For many, life is still harder than it should be. You long for a bit more money in your pockets, a meal out, a holiday, the chance to make a special family moment extra special. In 2026, the choices we've made will mean more people will begin to feel positive change in your bills, your communities, and your health service.
So there you go, Ryan. We thought it was all looking grim, but actually it's going to be all right.
Yeah, and I noticed in the New Year message there from Keir Starmer, one of the lines in it, he uses the phrase "things can only get better." So he says they can and they will get better. So echoing the days of New Labour.
Yeah, that was their theme, wasn't it? Of course.
No, it's a big theme, their sort of theme song during that first election victory.
Yeah.
I think one thing that Keir Starmer is trying to do is pinpoint, hone in on the cost of living. He seems to think that the big policies that they came up with at the budget, whether it was freezing rail fares or some rail fares this year, freezing fuel duty is going to help, prescription charges, all these kind of things is going to play into helping people with the cost of living. Now, he also senses the frustration. He says that he shares the frustration of voters, because the pace of change, I think people, as I say before, I think people thought that after 14 years of Conservative government, the Labour government would get in, wave a magic wand, and things would be okay. It just hasn't worked out like that. I think so many, so many errors that this government has made, whether it's winter fuel, national insurance, farmers' tax, all these things that they've U-turned on, they've made it so much more difficult for themselves. So I think Downing Street will be looking to make some sort of intervention early next week on the cost of living. And I think this is the moment where action needs to happen and people need to start feeling a difference, because if they don't, it's going to make governing extremely hard.
And it was a curious beginning, wasn't it? As you rightly said, very early doors, this winter fuel story just sort of broke. And I would argue, and I think students of politics in years to come will look back at that moment as a very significant, in that they never had a honeymoon period, even after 14 years of being in opposition. The last 4 or 5 being particularly tricky economically and otherwise, a bit of an open goal they had, and we all sort of thought they were coming in with this huge file of policies and big announcements, and things were going to get better. And it appears they were bereft of that. They didn't really come in with an ideology, and I still find that extraordinary that they didn't. And then kicked themselves right in the shins with the winter fuel thing. Never had the honeymoon period, never really recovered. And as you know, Ryan, in politics, even if it's a perception, perception has a bad habit of becoming a reality. And I can't see, even though there's 3 years to go until an election, how they can really recover from this almost ever-growing list of catastrophes.
Yeah, I think in politics, one thing you want to try and have a honeymoon period and build up slowly. I think Keir Starmer talks about the decade of national renewal. He talks, and he would say this, wouldn't he? Talks about him being in power for 10 years to see this through. Now that just seems like a pipe dream at the moment. And you speak to pollsters, you listen to what they have to say, and it's not just a dislike of their policies. It seems that there's something a bit deeper about whether it's Keir Starmer, those at the top of government. And I think, again, like I say, in politics, there's been so much political pain for no gain. It's okay if you go through the first couple of years and it's really, really tough and people can see light at the end of the tunnel. But you look at all their policies, all the U-turns, you look at the welfare rebellion over the summer. They were trying to make some savings in there, but it just shows a weakness when they couldn't even do that. They couldn't even cajole a political party with a 160-seat majority to get through some new changes to benefit rules, to welfare rules. They couldn't even get that through. Yep. So is he just beholden to his own backbenchers? If he can't do it in the first year, when can he do it?
And then, of course, as we said at the beginning, just to come back to that finally, Ryan, 17 weeks away, local elections, all of Wales, all of Scotland, some significant mayoralties, plus all those council seats. Predictions suggest it's going to be an annihilation for Labour. Now, of course, that doesn't change who governs us. It will still be Labour till 2029, all bar some other event. But it certainly compromises Keir Starmer, who's already in a very brittle position with many of those backbenchers.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very, very difficult for him. And there's lots of conversations among Labour MPs, ministers, cabinet ministers about the position of the Prime Minister and where that goes this year. I think Downing Street, what they're going to do is try, focus on cost of living, immigration, the NHS, and just try and focus on those things. But when it comes to what voters actually want, they want to see results. And it's going to be Nigel Farage, who announced yesterday that he's got £5 million that he's going to be spending on adverts and social media campaigning, that he is really going to go for the jugular, because this, for reform, is a key staging post on their way. What they see it is to getting into number 10. Because what reform, as those sort of insurgents in British politics, they have to create this momentum. And it's all been going one way for them. And they just need that to continue. But if it goes badly for Sir Keir Starmer, let's look out for what Andy Burnham, Angela Rayner, Wes Streeting all say the morning after those election results were expected to be heavy losses for Labour. Let's just see where the wind is blowing, and if Sir Keir Starmer can hang on. Yeah,
well, we did have an anonymous message this morning from somebody saying they'd spotted Angela Rayner down at the range, as in the shop, buying curtains for number 10. Now, I don't know if this is true, Ryan, but who knows? Because certainly it's a job she'd rather like. We know that much.
Yeah, totally. And I think the interesting thing on Labour leadership and where it goes next is who's going to win over the membership. It's going to be someone you would thought from the left of the party. So where someone like Wes Streeting probably plays better with the public when it comes to winning over those Labour members, the unions, to actually sort of win that Labour Party leadership, it's going to be someone like Angela Rayner, someone like Andy Burnham, if he gets in, he can actually get a seat in Westminster to actually sort of take that crown. So I think that's the sort of the direction of where the party goes from. Someone like, people talk, Shabana Mahmood as being a potential candidate. I think it probably comes a little bit too soon if it comes in the first half of this year. And where does she play with the party members? So there's lots to play for this year.
Indeed. And it certainly won't be dull. We know that much. Can't wait. Ryan, thank you very much as ever. Have a great day. Ryan Sabey, Deputy Political Editor over there at The Sun. Thank you to him.